This is the only time Apex ever had flashbangs, and for 6 seasons, Apex had mini dungeons, and these are 35 extinct Apex Legends features. Firstly, did you know that storm shields have been completely taken out of the game, including public matches? Basically what these things did was give your team an area where you wouldn't take damage from the zone. On paper this sounds amazing, but the real reason why it was removed is because people were abusing it in ranked to make very long rotations that they should not have been able to make. Respawn wanted to make playing in the zone a little more risky, so they removed it from ranked in season 26. But in season 27, they basically removed it from all game modes. And honestly, I have no clue why. Clans was a feature that you actually probably forgot about. But before tags, there used to be clans that you could invite your teammates to. And you could see your teammates' accomplishments and stuff, like if they won a match or if they ranked up. It turned out to be pretty useless, so it was removed from the game. If you were to add these back, how would you do it? Splatter rounds was a worse version of a current Rampart hop-up, which only went on the LMGs and decreased the reload time while making the bullets colorful. It's a cool hop-up, but now that it's kind of replaced by its cooler younger brother graffiti mod, there's no reason to really ever bring it back in its oldest form. Catalyst's old ultimate used to just be a pillar that pushes you up into the sky. It was a terrible ability, which is why it probably never came to the game. Similarly, an unreleased character named Jester had an ability in his kit that would allow you to call in robots to patrol an area for you. It's cool on paper, but I can definitely see how it causes some issues. One ability that has been in the game before is Rampart's walls. And you might not have thought about this, but we're never going to see regular Rampart walls ever again. In season 27, Respawn decided to give Rampart walls a roof, and it literally does the exact same thing as the old wall, meaning there's simply no reason to ever bring back the old model. Another thing that's been removed forever is the Digithreat being available in pubs and ranked. The combo of the Digithreat and Bangalore Smoke got too overpowered, so devs just obliterated it for like a year. It's finally back in Wildcard, but there's no chance of it ever coming back to regular Battle Royale. Another thing that's never coming back to Battle Royale is the low profile passive. It was a passive for little legends like Wraith, Lifeline, and Watson, who were harder to hit, and it made them take 5% more damage. It was definitely a fix, but it was pretty lazy. And in season 9, devs realized that there were other ways to nerf legends with little hitboxes, so they took low profile away. You used to be able to spam jump on zip lines with absolutely no penalty. Respawn tried to balance it for a while in many different ways, but they ended up coming to the conclusion that a max of 3 zips before touching the ground is the best that they could do. The mythical R301 was one of the first heirlooms that could be used in game for free. It came in 3 variants, which were known as Hornet, Limelight, and Vermilion, which are super fun to use and did the same thing as the bat from Wildcard, where they're trying to promote the item by letting you actually use it. Ash used to have a data knife that she could use to scan death boxes. The team that killed the enemies would be scanned on your map and you could track them down. It's a cool passive in concept, but very useless. She also used to get pings of the location of enemies that died on her map as well. And that was a good passive, but they were both traded out for her dash. One of the game's funner features, the train, released alongside World's Edge in season 3. It would travel around the map and had pretty decent loot on it. People liked to fight there, and it ended up becoming one of the most beloved things in the game. It was destroyed 3 seasons later in season 6 when Rampart was introduced to the game. You might think Wraith's Q is in a pretty good spot right now, but it actually used to be much better than this. On release, Wraith's Q used to literally be instant, so you tap the button and you're in phase. Honestly, I'm a Wraith main, but even that was a little too much. In the earlier seasons, you used to be able to put it 3 times on SMGs and sniper scopes on weapons like the G7 Scout. Was it cool? Maybe. But did it make sense? Not at all. Eventually, devs changed it so the G7 Scout couldn't take sniper scopes and SMGs couldn't take any scope past the 2 times, probably to solidify the identity of each weapon. You don't want people to use SMGs like an assault rifle, and you don't want people using like a G7 Scout to snipe things. Arenas tried to make a return recently, but unfortunately, probably due to its player count, I'm assuming it's not coming back anytime soon. It was removed as an official game mode in season 17, only to return in season 25 as a test to see how much the community wanted it back. And after 2 seasons, it seems like nobody wants it, because the devs haven't really spoke on it. Hopefully one day they find a way to incorporate the game mode into Apex naturally, but for now, we'll have to do without arenas. Now I know you forgot about this one, but do you remember in season 23 when the devs made Newcastle's tactical indestructible? Yeah, this was insanely overpowered and insanely short-lived, because 1 month after they made his shield indestructible, they reverted it back to having HP. And honestly, I think that was for the better. Did you know that Wraith used to be a track star? If you go into the training grounds now and look at Wraith's current running animation, you'll notice the similarities between her and a certain show about ninjas. But before she ran like a character in a show, she actually used to have a pretty regular running animation, and she kind of looks like a track star with how perfect her form is. You used to be able to find helmets around the map and equip them to your character, and they would defend against headshot damage, but Respawn wanted to make damage across the board more consistent, so they just removed helmets completely from the game. Lifeline used to have to get on the ground and do the dirty work of reviving her teammates herself, but to compensate, she had a big old shield that would stop all incoming damage. On one hand, the shield was pretty cool, but you still had to get down and do the revive on on your own. What version of the revive do you guys prefer? Fuse's flatline was a wildcard specific item that was in the game to promote the mythical flatline. It's similar to the mythical R301, with the difference being that it's introduced in wildcard instead of some other game mode. Its special gimmick was that it exploded every couple bullets. Another wildcard exclusive weapon was the bat. You had the ability to charge it up, and when you hit your opponent with a fully charged swing, they'd be sent flying. It was fun at first, but it definitely overstayed its welcome. The amount of 20 bombs that thing is taking away from me is insane. Punch boosting was a movement mechanic where if you punched the ground while going down a hill, you would gain a ridiculous amount of velocity. And due to how easy it was to do, it turned into a beloved mechanic very quickly. But the devs did not love it as much as the players. They considered it an exploit, so they took it out of the game, and we haven't heard a peep about that mechanic ever since. Those destroyed shelters littered around Stormpoint actually used to have NPCs inside of them. They're called IMC Armories, and when Stormpoint was released, you used to be able to walk inside of them, activate the building, and it would drop robots for you to fight. After you defeated them, you get a bunch of good loot. Devs noticed that people would choose to fight these robots instead of actually playing the game, so in season 19 they destroyed them. Similar to punch boosting, there was a time where if you punched the ground before you actually landed, you would cancel the fall stun that you usually get. This was patched out of the game, and people still think you can do it to this day. Before Revenant got his pounce and ult shield, he had a big orange ball that silenced the enemy when it came in contact with them, and his ultimate was a death totem, which essentially gave the team a second life. Revenant's abilities got really hard to balance because whenever he was good, he was overpowered and annoying, but whenever he was bad, he was completely useless. So the devs decided to just rework his kit entirely. SMGs used to be able to have barrel stabilizers applied to them, but they were eventually removed and replaced with laser sights. It's probably for the same reason that they don't allow SMGs to have 3x scopes on them, to force a design shift towards close range fights with SMGs, not mid-range to long range. During the exclusive Final Fantasy events, there were these hop-ups called materia. These were some of the funnest additions to the game ever in my opinion. There was a blue materia that gave you HP siphon, green materia that made you emit a shockwave when reloading, there was a purple materia that gave your weapons crit damage, and there was a red materia that summoned Nessies to fight with you. There was also a yellow materia which gave you threat vision, which is basically what we have now, where you can see health bars when you shoot at somebody. Chances are that they're never coming back because the Final Fantasy event was a one-of-a-time thing, and if they do, they will not be called materia. For a while in Apex, there was a whole extra side plot where you'd have to manage your crafting points and play differently based on what was in the crafter on what day. The replicator we have now is much simpler, but back then, it used to change daily, weekly, and even seasonally, and crafting took way longer than it does now. But all of that was simplified and boiled down into what we have now, which are the replicators, and honestly I like them a lot more. Caustic barrels used to be indestructible once activated. I'm not gonna lie, this was an insane feature, and I'm glad that they gave the barrels HP. The game used to have gold knockdown shields, which would give your teammates a bit of health after you revived them. They took it out of the game because it was overpowered when combined with characters like Newcastle and Lifeline, and it's probably not coming back anytime soon because the support legends haven't got any notable nerfs. Another iteration of Lifeline's revive passive was one where Dog Drone did the reviving and put up a shield, but could only do it for one teammate at a time. Lifeline had to get down and dirty for the second teammate if she wanted to pick up both at the same time. The Final Fantasy game mode was one of the funnest game modes in the game, and what made it so fun was definitely the Buster Sword. It allowed you to enter a charged up state, which gave you this insane dash and the ability to combo your opponent mid-air. This event was 100% exclusive, including the heirloom that came with the event, so I highly doubt that we'll ever see the Buster Sword come to the game again. Something that was not as beloved though was the POI Promenade on Broken Moon. It was way too easy to get third-partied here because it was located in the middle of the map, and it got destroyed and replaced with what we now call Quarantine Zone, which is honestly a much better POI. Back when Seer was God, one of the 30 extra abilities that he had with this tag included a fucking flashbang. Obviously this was an insane ability, so it was removed from his kit alongside a plethora of nerfs. Did you know that you used to be able to bunny hop and heal at the same time? Early in Apex's lifetime, you used to be able to heal and bunny hop, but while some people considered it movement tech, the devs considered it cheating, so they removed it out of the game, and we haven't heard from it since. Lastly is something I was surprised was taken out of the game, and that's Red Evo. Although we technically do have Red Evo in the form of over armor, the actual red color of your shields does not exist in the game anymore, and I have no clue why they took that out. Anyway, that's 35 random facts. Like if you want more of this type of video.